Howdy, roofers, and welcome to Roofer Growth Hacks, the podcast that's dedicated to highlighting those in the roofing industry, learning how they overcame growth challenges with creative growth hacks, and connecting them with others in the roofing industry. I'm your host, Chris Hunter, founder and chief marketing officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. Well, I got a little story for y'all. Steve Rozenberg is a former airline pilot who turned successful entrepreneur and real estate expert who has transformed challenges into opportunities through his innovative mindset. As the founder of the Rozenberg Group, Steve is dedicated to empowering others to achieve their dreams and reclaim their freedom. So be sure to listen up as Steve shares some awesome growth hacks. Well, howdy, roofers, and welcome to this special episode. I've got someone really cool that we're going to get to jam with here on the Roofer Growth Hacks podcast. Thanks so much, Steve, for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Good to see you again.
All right. Well, let's get this kicked off. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience, your entrepreneurial journey, where it started, where you are now, and just let us know all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of like an onion. Like I've got a lot of layers to me, I guess you could say. My background is probably different than most people. I started off wanting to be an airline pilot as a little kid. That's all I did. And I studied for it. And at 25 years old, I was the second youngest person hired by this particular major airline. Had the best life. Everything was going great until a tragic day, which was 9/11. And that day obviously changed the lives of millions, including myself, because 2 days after the towers fell, I was given a furlough notice from my safe and my secure job. And now I was forced to figure out what I would do with my life if the flying industry did not come back. So I went to that building with books in it called the library. I had to go to the library and I had to check out a book. And I checked out a book a week. Every week I read one book. And I did everything I could just to understand, what do people do that are wealthy? What is involved in that? Because I only learned one thing in life, and that was to fly an airplane. So after a while, I noticed that a lot of the wealth was tied to real estate. I didn't know anything about real estate, but I thought, okay, I know people who own real estate, but I didn't know the dynamics of it. So I started learning about real estate. And again, I didn't know anything. And I knew that just reading books was not going to get me there. And I remembered when I wanted to be a pilot, I had to get a flight instructor. So when I wanted to learn real estate, I looked up and I found a real estate coach. This guy taught me all about real estate. And he just said, if you do what I say, it will work. If you don't, then you're wasting your money. Well, it was money I didn't have anyways, because I put on credit cards. I had no idea what I was doing. And I did what he said. And I got pretty successful in real estate, owned apartment complexes, houses, etc. And, had some challenges and failures along the way, but that's fine. And then I started a property management company to manage my properties. And again, didn't know anything about building a business, totally different than flying a plane and owning real estate and to that degree. So I found a business coach, went back to my thoughts and hired a business coach. My business partner and I, we stayed with that business coach for 7 years. And in 7 years, we built a multi-million-dollar company. We were the fastest growing property management company in the state of Texas. We had over 1,000 properties. And we ended up selling it to a venture capital firm after 7 years and exited and sold. The way I got into the roofing world is I started having some well-known people that put on events, people that we all know, asking me if I could come and speak at their events to talk about how the roofing industry can tie into the property management industry and get past the gatekeeper. Because I owned one. Now I'm kind of like the guy who was the IRS agent and is now giving tax advice. So now I'm the guy who owned the property management company. The company that I sold to, we had 10,000 properties now, and I was a VP for them. So I was explaining to the roofing community at this conference how to get past the gatekeeper. However, that could also be the worst thing you do as a business owner, is because if you get too much business, that could be the beginning of the end for you as a business owner or as a roofer. And so you have to have the systems, you've got to have the scalability, you've got to understand how to grow and scale that company. Otherwise, as we say in flying terms, it just takes you to the crash site quicker. And that's what I've seen a lot of people do. Unfortunately, they grow their business into bankruptcy. So I just started going down that path, and I started helping people in the roofing contracting world, really show them, number one, how to break through the property management sector, but also how to communicate, how to sell, how to grow their business, grow revenue through multiple streams, and understand that if they are not focusing on growth, they're really dying. Their business is dying. They just don't realize it yet. So that's what I do now. That's kind of my story of how I got here. It wasn't by design. It's kind of, twists and turns. But I still do fly. As you know, right now I'm in Amsterdam on a layover. So I fly a 777, Boeing 777 for United Airlines. I've been doing it for 26 years. It's nice because I don't need to do it. I do it because I love traveling the world, and they give me a free ticket to go and explore the world on their dime. So to me, who wouldn't do that? So that's why I still fly.
That's super cool. And I mean, come on, that's the biggest plane in the world, right? The 777.
It's pretty big. It's a big one. It holds about 350 passengers, and it's a big boy. There's a lot that goes on, and when you think of an airplane, it's very much like running a business. There's leadership, there's systems, there's processes, there's emergencies, there's things that go wrong, there's bad employees, there's all of that. Well, when you're at 35,000 feet, you don't get to pull over and have a cry closet and complain. You've got to deal with the issue. Just like business owners, as we all know, we have issues, we have to deal with them. And so there's a lot of tangibles that zigzag back and forth that I explain to people from the airline industry, that Boeing has spent millions of dollars in me for the last 26 years, that I've been able to impart on people that they wouldn't normally get.
That's awesome. Love that. So as you're working with roofers, right, what would you say that the number one thing that you help them with when they come to you is?
Yeah, the number one thing I would say is showing them how to get recurring revenue. People, roofers in particular, they have that lumpy sales cycle. For example, they don't focus on marketing, and if they do focus on it, as soon as the marketing kicks up, they stop it because now they don't have the fulfillment on the backside. And so it's very lumpy. It's start and stop. It's start and stop. But it can be very continuous if you utilize some practices of tying into the property management industry, of getting referrals, getting repeat customers, understanding, number one, who should you be closing? Like, who is your target?
Yeah.
And more importantly, who should you not be closing? Who is not your target? Listen, I'm sure you, myself, everyone that's listening has probably said yes to a low-paying, low-enjoyment job that we know deep down we should have never said yes to that client, should have never said yes to that deal, and it was the bane of our existence until we got rid of it. And then what do? We get desperate, and we do it again, and we do it again, and we're like, God, I cannot get out of this. I'm like, just say no. Like, you can say no. And sometimes I get people, a lot of it, I would say, not only the sales, but it's the mindset. It's understanding that they're running a business, and that business is based on leveraging people. It's leveraging knowledge. You're leveraging systems. You're leveraging money, and you're leveraging experience. So you're leveraging 5 things in a business. Most of the time, people leverage themselves, and that's it. And that is not a business. That is a job.
Yeah, 100%. 100% on that. And so what size companies come to you? What size roofing companies typically come to you?
Typically, it seems like anywhere between 1 and about 15 million in a general perspective. When I get above 15 million, I seem to help the owners more at a higher level. So I do a lot of training and advising to very high level C-suite companies, oil companies, nutrition companies, roofing companies, distributors of roofing. So people that we all know, I have these higher level conversations where I can talk to their mid or higher level teams about strategy and tactics. But I also go down and get into the weeds and get into the mud with the sales guys to make sure they understand that they're the tip of the spear. If you're not selling, nothing matters. Nothing matters. Actually, I take it back. If you're not marketing, nothing matters. Right. Once you market, and you're marketing to the right person, the salespeople are vital to this extension from monetization to the systemization side of a business.
100%. And typically that's sales is the first thing that breaks when you get marketing working.
I always say you're trading one problem for another. So when you think about it, Once, if you have no leads coming in, you have a marketing problem. If all of a
Hmm.
sudden leads are coming in and you're not converting them, you have a sales problem.
Hmm.
When leads are coming in and you're converting them and now you're getting upset clients, now you have an operations problem. So
Right.
it's a variable that, and this is the cycle that all entrepreneurs go through.
Hmm.
You can't build this great system on the back end until you have inbound flow. You
Right.
can't be so you almost have to break systems as you go. Some people look at it as defeat, and I'm like, you have to go through this
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
It is the process. It's not an avoidance of it.
Right.
When you think of entrepreneurship, right? Like as a pilot, I have to go to flight school, right? And there's years and years of flight training in flight school. As a doctor, you have to go to medical school. As a lawyer, you got to go to law school. Where's the entrepreneurial school?
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't exist. So what do?
Yeah.
We peck and we guess and we try, and
Hmm.
we lose 5, 10, 20 years of sleep because we have no idea what we're doing. We are just guessing at best.
Yeah.
And so there are people that have a recipe, and it's like baking a cake, right? There's what's called the law of sequence, and the law of sequence says that it's not just good enough to do the right things. You have to do the right things in the right order.
Right.
So if I use something as simple as baking a cake, there's a recipe to bake a cake. There's a law of sequence for baking a cake. If right before you put that cake in the oven and you go ahead and put a frosting on that cake and then shove it in the oven, are you going to have a cake that you can eat? No. And if all of a sudden the next time you're like, okay, I just need to put more frosting on the cake, I'm going to put more on this time. And I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to keep doing it over and over again
Yeah.
because you're doing the right things, but in the wrong order. So
Mhm.
I talk to entrepreneurs, going back to your question, is how many roofers, contractors are out there? You're doing the right things, but you're doing them in the wrong order, and it will never, ever work. It'll never be that cake or that business that's running because you are putting frosting on the cake before you put it in the oven.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not something, it's just a matter of looking at something and just going, you know what, let's go here and see how that works. And it's
Yeah.
just a little shift that all of a sudden, wow, this is working now. So it's
Yeah.
not like I'm magical. I tell people the reason I'm able to help so many businesses, I mean, thousands of business owners, is because I'm 3 feet away from your business. I can see things that you just can't see just
Yep.
because you're in the heat of battle, where
Right.
sometimes you have to be. That's part of your role.
Yeah.
But that's not the role that's going to grow and scale your company, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. My business coach tells me that, your business is limited by your growth, right? So I am the one that is holding the company back because of my lack of growth, right?
Yep.
So, and he also says that I have to reinvent myself at every stage, right? Every
Yeah.
stage that we get to, every level that we get to, wherever that we're doing, I have to completely reinvent my role, you know,
Yeah.
and that's something that I think that every entrepreneur should understand is that, and I loved what you said, by the way, of is gonna break, expect it to break, right? All of these systems are going to break as you start scaling.
Yeah, when I was growing my company, I never forget. And I'm a big believer in coaching and mentors, and
Yeah.
I literally, this is no exaggeration or boast. I have probably invested over $1 million in the last 20 years in myself, from coaching to events to masterminds to you name it. Right? If
Yeah.
I were to
Yeah.
total up,
Yeah.
and one of the most profound things I remember, one of my mentors told me. He said, "Steve, he said, the speed at which you break things in your business is the speed at which you grow." You
Hmm.
grow fast, you break fast. He said,
Hmm.
you are going to break things. You're going to break people and you're going to break systems. Just be okay with it. It doesn't identify who you are. We, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, because there's no school for it. And if there wasn't coaches like your coach and what I do and
Hmm.
other things, we wouldn't know. So we kind of take it personally. And it's kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, boo hoo, someone doesn't like
Yeah.
me, they quit. It's like, no, you broke the system. They were not the person. Maybe they were the person you started with,
Hmm.
but they are not going to be the person you end with. And they are just shedding their skin and they are moving on their path
Hmm.
and you are moving on your path. It is
Yeah.
part of the process. It's kind of like trying to keep an 18-year-old in fifth grade. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you can't leave. You're supposed to stay with me. It's like, no, I need to go to sixth grade, seventh grade, high school,
Yeah.
college. No, you need to stay with me. And
Yeah.
so when we say it like that, it's so common sense, but that's
Yeah.
kind of what we do when we have employees or we have systems or
Yep.
even coaches. Like I tell people, my goal is that you become a 60, 70, $100 million company and you have outgrown me, that I am not able to help you at that level. That
Yeah.
is my goal for you. I
Yeah.
want you to get to that level. Go fly, bird, go fly, you know?
Yeah. I love that. Absolutely love that. So what advice would you give to a new roofing company just starting out in the industry?
Start with the end. Start with the end in mind. For example, and what I mean by that is every company needs a sale date. And it's
Mm.
not because what most people think is, oh, Steve, I'm generational, I'm not going to sell my company. That is not what I said. I said you need a sale date. And the reason you
Mhm.
have to have a sale date is you have to have a destination for your business. And that destination is the sale date means that you own a saleable asset. A
Yeah.
saleable asset means that it is running on processes, procedures, structure, and systems, and not you.
Mhm.
So if you do not have a date, and I mean a day, a month, and a year, what are the odds it's ever going to happen? So, for example, you say January 1st, 2029, I am a $10 million company with 35% profit margins, and I will be here 3 hours a month. Now, the reason this is important is every decision you make moving forward is anchored on the destination.
Mhm.
It's kind of like Google Maps. As simple as Google Maps is, there are two things that have to be in Google Maps. You have to have a starting point and
Mhm.
you have to have a destination.
Yeah.
And the thing in between is called a strategy. If you do not give Google Maps a destination, could it give you directions? No. So it's going to go, dude, I need an address. If you don't give me an address, it's like, well, just go north, or maybe south, maybe east. It's going to go where, like if you were walking down the street and someone pulled over and said, hey, can I get directions? What is the first thing you're going to ask them? Where are you going?
Yeah. Yeah.
If they say, I don't know, they're going to go, well, then I can't help you. And so as a business owner, if we don't have a destination, what happens? We're
Mhm.
running on motivation. And
Yeah.
motivation is like a battery. It drains. It's like gas in the tank. It will run out.
Mhm.
And that is why the entrepreneurial highway is littered with the
Yep.
souls of people who had great ideas, but they had no direction and no destination. And when you hire people, hey, January 1st, 2029, we are going to be a $10 million company with 35% profit margins, and you will
Mhm.
see me 3 hours a week. If you have a problem with that, you probably should not come work for me because that is where we are going.
Yeah.
So everybody's going to Disneyland, everyone in the car. If one guy goes, hey, I wanted to go to Magic Mountain. Hey, wrong car, man. Wrong car. We are going here. So it
Yeah.
helps create the vision of when you are hiring. Now, you may say, Steve, I'm just starting. I don't know. You know what? Pick something. Just pick something and throw it against the wall.
Mhm.
You can
Mhm.
revise it while you're on the highway. But if you don't even know where you're going, as you know, Chris, how many people are stuck in the subdivision and they never have even gone anywhere? They're like, man, I was busy
Yep.
all day. What, did you get
Mhm.
anything done? No, I was just putting out
Mhm.
fires.
Yep.
Okay, well, how is that helpful?
Yeah.
So that long answer, but that's what I would say.
Love it. Love it. So, what would you say is the biggest mistakes that you see of the roofing companies as they come in? Besides, we talked about sales and marketing. What are some of the other bigger mistakes that you see as people start working with you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Because people in the roofing industry are very, very much, they got into the roofing industry probably because they were roofers, right?
Yeah.
So they know how to do the trade, they know
Yeah.
how to do the craft. That is not always a good thing when you are a business owner. And
Yeah.
we get what's called heroitis. And what happens is when something's messing up or someone's not putting the tabs on, or they're not doing the roof, or they're not laying the ladder against the wall like I would do it. Get out of the way. I'll do it. No one can do it as good as me. And what
Mm.
happens is you are now training your team and your employees and the culture that you will do it. Well, that may be great in the beginning, and they ooh and ah, look at how great Chris is. Look how he climbed up that ladder. He is so smart. Look, he's a hero. After a while, they go, well, shit, I'll get paid either way. I'll just stand here. Chris is going to
Mhm.
jump in at some point, and
Yep.
you've just changed the culture of your company. And that's when you go, man, I can never go on
Yep.
vacation.
Yep.
Everybody's calling me. My phone is blowing up. And I tell people, congratulations. That is exactly what you wanted because you got what you wanted because somebody doesn't come and get
Mm.
hired and say, I think I'm just going to sit around all day and let you do my job. It doesn't start that way. You
Yeah.
have created that and allowed that to happen. And either you are selling them on how your business is run,
Mhm.
or they are selling you on how you are going to run your job now.
Yeah. Well, and the other issue that I see with that right there is that you've got to let them fail too, right? But fail in a safe
Absolutely.
environment and make it sure that it's safe for them and let them know that it's safe to fail. But yeah, I agree. If you take over, you're just digging a hole for yourself.
Yeah, it is. I've seen it over and over again. And sadly, a couple of things that I would say is as business owners, as entrepreneurs, it's your dream. It's
Mhm.
your business. It's your passion. It's not theirs.
Yeah.
They're not going to have the same passion you have, no matter what. It doesn't matter. You're the
Mhm.
one who created it. You birthed it. You blood, sweat, and tears. Nobody's going to have that passion
Yeah.
like anyone else. So because of that, your job is to inspire the vision and communicate that as best as you can to your
Mhm.
team. So one of the things you have to become as you become a business owner and a leader is you have to become a master communicator. You've got
Yeah.
to become, that is a craft and a skill of inspiring your team. You have to stop. It's like I tell owners, I want you to run your day and never lift your hands.
Yeah.
Never lift your hands. I don't want you typing anything. I don't want you doing anything. If your phone rings and you can tap it with your nose, more power to you. But that's showing you how to lead because you're having other people do it. But
Right.
if you're the ones getting on the ladder and getting up on the roof, you are showing them that is now your job.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. So looking forward, right? We're always looking at industry trends in the roofing industry. Stuff is always evolving. What are some of the industry trends that you see now that we all should be looking for?
Oh, look, I think that we all know the insurance saga that's going on
Mhm.
is not going to get better on its own, right?
Yeah.
So, which means you have to learn as a roofer. And I'm not going to say it's easy, right? Because that's not the right term, but the sales are not going to come as fast and furious because the insurance companies are tightening their grip, which means you have to go out and actually learn how to sell. Now you may say, "Hey, Steve, I could smoke you on sales." Okay, but what about your salesperson?
Yeah.
Can your salesperson sell as good as you? Are you transferring the knowledge and the emotions of selling and communicating? Because now you've got to sell that roof. I think at some point, and I could be wrong,
Mhm.
just stuff that I'm hearing is that pretty soon roofs are going to be something that people are going to pay out of pocket because insurance is just basically not going to cover. So
Yeah.
because of that, that means that you've got to convince that person that you're standing in front of at the house that they're going to come out of pocket when they didn't even know they had a roof problem before you knocked on that door. So
Yeah.
you've got to learn how to sell, how to close, how to overcome objections, and you have to become master closers, which I don't think many roofing companies have had to deal with, especially if a storm's rolling through.
Mhm.
I think that's going to become harder and harder. That's my opinion. I could be way off, but that's just what I'm seeing.
No, and I agree on that. And to further on that, what I've heard also from I was listening to a speech by Greg Crabtree, who's like this master accountant, written a couple of books on accounting and making it simple really for us entrepreneurs. But he was talking about the labor shortage right now and how that's really going to affect everything. And it kind of goes along with that is that we have to learn how to sell now,
Yeah.
and until now, just all the way up through the 80s, 90s, early 2000s up until now, we've just been order takers,
Yeah.
and we have to now learn how to sell. Yeah.
Very true. As a result of that, I have started
Mhm.
a program that I actually in this program that I have, it's a daily sales training. So every day, me or one of my sales guys that's under me, every single day we do training on sales, role playing,
Mhm.
objection handling, body language, tonality,
Yeah.
overcoming the close, all the things that how you introduce yourself, the pausing. all the things that show you how to be a master closer and a master communicator. I have a program that every single day
Mm.
we are doing that. And because we're seeing people separate themselves from the herd. I've got
Yeah.
some roofing guys that are doubling and tripling their revenue just because they're learning the basics.
Hmm.
And,
Hmm.
again, they are seeing it. And so they're saying, Steve, like, we need to get these guys how to be salespeople. And unfortunately, Steve,
Yeah.
I'm a business owner. I'm not a salesperson. And I
Hmm.
say, well, lucky for you, you don't need to learn. You just need to know someone like me.
Yeah.
And you've got to learn and it's not just roofing sales, it's communication, it's sales in
Yes.
general, because there's a
Right.
psychology behind selling. And listen, I'm not saying that specific sales roofers are not bad, but
Hmm.
you've got to understand the fundamentals of selling. Why do people buy? Why do they not buy?
Yeah.
All those things. What does no mean? That
Hmm.
is not roofing industry specific. That's the psychology of buyers and sellers. So I
Yeah.
think that's something that people are going to really need to dial in on, in my opinion.
100%. 100% on that. All right, Steve, this has been really awesome. I have a whole page of notes here. We're going to pause though real quick for a message from our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. Awesome. And we are back now. Steve, we're heading into our lightning round. We have one rule and one rule only. You have 1 minute or less to answer each of these questions. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay. Question number one. What is your favorite personal hack? This can be a book, podcast, anything goes. We're Roofer Growth Hacks.
Yeah, my personal hack, I would say, is triggers. I have triggers all over my house. Everything I do is a trigger, meaning, for example, something as simple as going to the gym. That triggers, I
Mhm.
put my gym shoes at the door. That's a
Mm.
trigger that I know that when I'm walking out that door, I've got to put my gym shoes on and I have to go to the gym. So
Okay.
I've learned that in life, we don't need to remember everything. We just need to have triggers to remind us. And
Okay.
so everything I do is a trigger. And if you put even a sticky on your mirror of
Mm.
brush your teeth, I mean, something as
Yeah.
simple as that, those are triggers.
Yeah.
And your triggers become habits, habits become patterns, patterns become your life. So triggers is where it starts. And then it moves on from there.
Love it. Absolutely love that. All right. Question number two. What is your favorite business hack? This could be a book, podcast, and again, anything goes.
Yeah, I would say my business hack is when I'm at the gym, I used to listen to music.
Mhm.
I've stopped in the last couple of years and I listen to either podcasts or audiobooks all the
Mm.
time. I listen to a 1.5 speed. Your brain can take in 400 to 500 words per minute. The normal person speaks between 150,
Yeah.
125 to 150 words per minute. So if
Yeah.
you can speed up that podcast, you will get the information you need. And
Mhm.
it's like I am in the university for at least I go to the gym for an hour and a half, 2 hours every day,
Yeah.
hour and a half, 2 hours every day, 5, 6 days a week. That's a lot of time of learning.
Yeah.
And so if I'm just continuous, what I've learned is the key to success is continuity, being continuous in what you do. You don't have to be the greatest, but if you do it over and over and over again,
Yeah.
things start getting easier. So that is my non-negotiable when I'm in the gym, is that's how I listen to it. And now I may listen to it in the car and other things, but in the
Yeah.
gym, that is what I do, 1.5 speed, and that's my hack.
Love it. Love it. All right, Steve, what is the best advice that you have ever been given? And you get bonus points here if you tell us how you actually applied it.
Well, I think that the best advice I got was from one of my mentors, and he explained to me the power of no. And when I was building my business and my phone was going berserk at a lunch meeting with him one time, and he was sitting there kind of chuckling, and I said, "How many businesses do you own?" And he's like, "Oh, I think 11." I'm like, "How do you own 11 like that?" I don't even understand the language. And I said, "How many days a week are you working?" He goes, Monday, Wednesday. And if I'm not golfing or drinking, sometimes on Friday. I'm like, "How?" He goes, "Oh, it's easy." I'm like, "Well, please enlighten me." He goes, "It's no." I'm like, "I feel like we're talking different languages here. What do you mean no?" He goes, "Steve, let me explain it this way. If we go to the entrepreneurial buffet,
Mhm.
you think being the successful entrepreneur is going down the buffet and grabbing all these ideas that you think are great ideas and putting them on your plate, and you stack them all on your plate. And then when you get at the table, you're going to pick some of this, you're going to pick some of this, and you're going to keep picking different things." He goes, That's not how successful people think. He goes, successful people walk up and down the aisle, focusing on the one thing that we're going to put on our plate. He goes, we put that one idea on our plate, and he goes, we focus it, we study it, we identify it, we devour it. One thing. He goes, you're doing all this shit you're doing. He goes, you will never be successful. He goes, learn to say no. He goes, now, when I say no, it doesn't mean it's not going to be done. It just means it is not getting done by me because they're not getting
Right.
my most precious thing, which is my time. He goes, my team may handle it. And then if they think it's going to be my one thing, it goes on my plate. But he goes, one thing on your plate at a time. So the power of no was very, very important to me. And it really helped me because I was a squirrel. My ego,
Yeah.
every time somebody wanted me involved in something, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I was the yes guy because it was really my ego because I thought, oh, they want me. They want me to be at the podcast. They want me to be on the stage. I was speaking at a crypto event. I'm like, what am I doing at this crypto event? I don't even know anything about crypto. But because they said, hey, you want to come speak? I'm like, yes. And I realized I've got to learn no. I've got to reel that in. That's my ego. That's not
Yeah.
success.
Yeah. Love that. Absolutely love that. And I 100% agree on that. Okay. So, how can the Roofer Growth Hacks family get in touch with you? How can we support you and encourage you moving forward?
Yeah, you can go to my website. It's steverozenberg.com, Rozenberg, steverozenberg.com. I do, like I said, I do daily sales training events. Every month, I do a business growth summit in Houston, Texas, every single month, 2 days. And if anybody wants to know, they can reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to them about it. But this is for people that are entrepreneurs that are looking to seriously grow your business. I'm the guy everyone knows. I'm the guy that makes you accountable, that makes you get your shit done, and that makes you grow, whether you want to or not. Because when you're a business owner, you have responsibilities, and those responsibilities are called employees because they
Mhm.
trusted you that you were going to do your job. And so I'm the guy that says, "Oh no, you don't get to take the day off. You, my friend, decided to be a business owner, and you are
Mhm.
going to get in that chair every day, and you're going to do what you got to do." So I have a lot of success. I love working with roofers because they're just great people. They're good people. They're trying to provide for their family. I think there's just a gap in what people have shown them from the time they climbed a roof to being a business owner. And so I'm the guy that fills that gap for them.
Love that. Love it. Well, Steve, thanks so much for coming on Roofer Growth Hacks. Really appreciate everything that you've said here. Like I said, I took a whole page full of notes here. You know, uh, thanks so much for sharing all your wisdom here.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, how about that, roofers? Was that pretty awesome or what? I know I took tons and tons of notes here in my journal. I've got to say, I have about four or five things that it really, really came down to that really resonated with me. I would say the first one is where he said the speed in which you break things is directly proportional to how fast your business grows, right? And and that's really this mindset shift that it's okay for things to break. It's okay as long as you fix them, of course, but it's okay for things to break and not to get so hung up in those things, right? And understand that this is a journey and that as you evolve, as your business evolves, as you grow, things are going to break, right? And it's just a matter of coming back to those areas and in one recognizing that they are going to, and two recognizing that okay, if it broke, let's fix this next. Okay. And it's going to be a constant evolution of things breaking, right? Because once and he gave the example there of, marketing at the first for most companies is broken. All right. Once you fix that, things that's going to break next is sales. Well, once you get that fixed, then the next thing that's going to break is operations, right? And once you get all of those things fixed, then guess what? You're probably going to have to go back and fix a little bit more of your marketing. And then because of that, you're going to have to fix a little bit more of your sales and so forth and so on, right? So it's just going to be a constant evolution there. And really, it's just that mindset shift. The next thing that he talked about was start with the end in mind, and I love this, and I think I live this with my businesses and with my life, with intentionally thinking, okay, well, what's the end? Because and he gave this example: you can't get where you want to go if you don't know where you really want to go. Okay, that made no sense, but basically he gave the example of in Google Maps, you've got a start point and an end point, and you have to have those two things. And he said most businesses though, they just get stuck and going around in circles. So, know where you want to go. And I'm going to say further, communicate that out to everyone in your organization so that they know. And he did say that, but I just want to reiterate that. The next thing is triggers. I love this. Put triggers in place to remind you to do things to build that habit, right? And he gave the example of leaving his gym shoes near the door to remind him to go to the gym. Okay. And so we want to set up some of the triggers, right, in our life and in our daily habits to remind us to do specific things. Whether that's taking out the trash, right? We all need to do that, right, when we get home. But I'm talking about more along the lines of, hey, I got to make payroll. I've got to do payroll. Fridays are my payroll days, or block that out and make sure that that that's what you're supposed to be doing that specific time. The next is, he said the biggest mistake that he sees is that owners come in and they sometimes take over, right? Take over certain tasks, jobs, whatever, and it destroys the culture of the company because it turns into a culture of, well, he's just going to do it. Why should I do it? Right? Kind of a thing. So I think that every entrepreneur out there has been guilty of it. Of if you're the doer at the beginning, which most businesses are, it's hard to give things up. It's really hard to give things up. And I know that Dan Martell says that if you give something away off of your plate, just know that even if it's done only 80% of the way that you would do it, that's still 100% awesome. So I love that. Next is the best advice, power of no. I mean, that was a good example where he's, as we're looking at all of these things that we can do as entrepreneurs, right? We have to know the power of no and what to say no to, and know what to say yes to. Okay. And let everyone else do all those other things. And you, the owner, the entrepreneur, just focus on the one biggest thing. And this goes back to things that break, right? How do you fix that? Well, that might be hiring a coach. It might be hiring someone that knows how to fix this stuff, right? And can fix it for you or with you. Okay. So anyways, those are the biggest takeaways that I had there. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you connect with Steve online. I also hope that you connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or wherever. You can also check out our website at roofingsites.com. And while you're there, you can listen to previous episodes. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you are a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. Also, this past year, I published my book, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you're a roofing company owner and you don't have this book in your hands, I will send you a free digital copy. Just go to go.roofingsites.com and I'll send you a free copy of my book. Well, roofers, join me next time and we'll connect with another great roofing entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter. Thanks and gig 'em.